They didn't just trespass on my land. They ripped a trench straight through my grandfather's grave. I stood in the dawn light, watching diesel smoke curl over torn sagebrush roots. A bronze plaque with Grandpa Thaddeus's name lay crushed in the dirt, bent like a discarded beer can. And the HOA president, she didn't even look up. Just scrolling on her phone, acrylic nails clicking. No acknowledgement. No. Same. I'd spent 15 years dissecting water contracts in Denver courts, finding loopholes that could make the cleverest lawyer's head spin. But this was Wyoming. And out here, whoever controls the water writes the rules. My name is Marley. Colonel Train. Call me Marley. 3 years ago, I inherited 240 acres of high desert in Fremont County land homesteaded by my grandfather, Thaddeus, in 19... He came back from the war with a duffel bag and a land grant, and built everything from scratch to the house, the barn, even the 1952 windmill that still cacks in the wind. He was 1/4 Shoshone, and knew this land the way some people know. Music the hidden springs, which pastures flood in April, where buffalo trails are etched into the soil. He taught me to read survey maps at the kitchen table, the smell of burnt coffee in the air, his calloused finger tracing property lines. Land doesn't lie, Marley. People do, he said. That lesson hit harder than ever when he died in 2019. I scattered his ashes in the southeast pasture near Cottonwood Grove. No 4-mile ceremony, just me, the wind, and middlelarks. At sunrise. By 2021, I was divorced. 49. Pretty broken. I sold my practice, cashed out my 401k, and came home to rehabilitate the ranch. Rotational grazing, native grass restoration, a small beef CSA. Land heals, if you let Italiano. But then Ridgemont. Estates happened. Spring 2023. I was walking the fence line when I spotted the Morange survey stakes, marching straight through Thaddeus S. Grove, every 50 feet, like a line of small fires. No warning, no letter. At the county clerk's office, I discovered Ridgemont filed for private condemnation 6 weeks earlier. Notice had been sent to a P.O. box I'd closed 2 years prior. Classic steamroll. Ridgemont is at 2,200 home gated community, built on former BLM land. Artificial lake, 80 golf course. McMansion starting at $850,000 in a desert that averages 12 inches of rain a year. Their golf course alone uses more water than 40 family ranches combined. Pulling from Clearstone Reservoir, a public watershed built in 1963 to irrigate farms. And now, they wanted a pipeline straight through my land. The HOA president, a woman in her early 60s with a pristine white Lexus, dismissed me entirely when I confronted her. Acrylic nails clicking. She laughed. Show me a death certificate. She thought ashes weren't legally interred. That was her first mistake. She didn't know me. I spent the weekend building my arsenal. I called Hector Ruiz, an old Denver colleague who specialized in water law. He answered at 9 p.m., coffee brewing in his kitchen. NAG. PRA. Improper service. Federal overrides every legal door we could find. I dug through boxers in the attic. Thaddeus's Pine Ridge enrollment papers, his 1948 land patent, discharge papers from Anzio, spread across my kitchen table at 3 a.m. Moths battering the screen door. Coyotes yipping outside. I hadn't had a sip of water in hours. Dust sticking to my tongue. By Sunday afternoon, Hector filed the emergency injunction. Judge Kemp, a fourth-generation rancher, was sympathetic. But Monday, the showdown arrived. The HOA president walked into the courtroom with 3 attorneys from Jackson Hole, exuding confidence like they owned the place. Lead attorney Pritchard presented a county geologist's affidavit, no marked graves in the database. Then, an anthropologist's report irrelevant jurisdiction. And the killer blow, excavation began Friday evening, before notice of the hearing. Technically legal, morally bankrupt. I drove home to the grove. The yellow backhoe waited like a mechanical dinosaur, teeth ready to bite the meadow. 10-foot trench, gaping through the wildflowers where my grandfather's ashes lay. The foreman, A weathered man with kind eyes handed me something. Thaddeus's bronze plaque. Bent, mudcake. First scoop, he said quietly. I sat in my truck, hands shaking. Diesel smell mixing with torn earth. Cottonwood leaves rustled, sounding like him shuffling maps. Then I noticed the watershed records stapled to my mailbox. Clearstone Reservoir. Ridgemont didn't own this water. They were allocated it by a public board. I dug through county files. Dusty 1987 bylaw amendments. Yellowed meeting minutes. Private users over 500 acre-feet must renegotiate allocations every 10 years or approve conservation infrastructure. Ridgemont's golf course. 620 acre-foot consumption. Overdue since 2014. I photocopied the bylaw, hands steady for the first time in days. Vivian thought she had the system wired. Her brother sat on the water board and approved every expansion. Undisclosed relationship. Ethical violation. Legal liability. Freeze pending allocations. I called Hector. Draft the complaint. Make it hurt. Then Iris Pendleton, retired hydrologist. 30 years fighting over allocation in Wyoming basins. Silver braid, soil-stained hands, eyes like sharpened steel. We modeled water theft from every downstream user. 3 ranches, a fish hatchery, small farms how much they were stealing and who was suffering. Next, Tyrell Booker, investigative journalist, Casper Star Tribune. He showed up at a truck stop off I-25. Camera rolling, voice recording, notepad ready. I handed him copies of all evidence watershed allocations, undisclosed board relationships, bond filings, and HOA documents. Every secret exposed. The story went viral locally. Ridgemont residents woke up to emails, newsletters, the media coverage exposing overdue. I received calls and voicemails, some threatening, "Some, confuse." One woman confronted me in the grocery store, shouting about rising water bills while blocking my cart. Manager escorted her out. I left, hands shaking, heart pounding. Fence cutting followed. 40 feet of jagged wire gone. Cattle escaped onto the county road. $1,200 in impound fees. Timing screamed HOA involvement, though I had no proof. I spent the next 4 hours rounding up livestock in pre-dawn cold. Then came the counterclaim stew. $150,000 for alleged construction delays. Due to the injunction, Hector called it a slap suit, designed to drain me financially. Sleep. Impossible. Nights spent clicking through Bureau of Reclamation archives. Eyes burning. Coffee. Cold. 4 IA requests. Returned 4,000 scanned pages. Water allocation. Board minutes. Environmental statements. Ridgemont's allocation started in 2014. Due for renegotiation in 2024. Overdue in Worcester HOA bond. $4.2 million collateralized by water infrastructure. Lose water. Lose bond. Lose community. I cross-referenced every vote by the water board, every approval, every expansion, traced to her brother. Undisclosed. Legal and ethical violation. State investigation mandatory. Pending allocations frozen. Ridgemont had overplayed. I presented evidence at the local Cattlemen's Association. 30 ranchers, smoke-stained walls, burnt coffee in air. Open comment. Ridgemont is stealing water from family ranches. Allocation expired. Board member is HOA. President's brother. Silence. Then a third-generation rancher stood. Heads nodded. Momentum building. I leveraged media, experts, and public scrutiny. Bonds, allocations, and ethics rules. Now my weapons. Ridgemont's empire had cracks too wide to ignore. Sunset and Thaddeus's grove. Bronze plaque in hand. Cottonwood leaves rustling. Wind blowing across the meadow. Justice didn't look like a courtroom when it sounded like leaves and smelled like diesel and dust. But the system, for the first time, was listening. And the land remembered.